if you're heading to the Finger Lakes, Niagara Falls, or even Buffalo, I'm going to suggest adding in some time into your itinerary to stop in the Rochester area. This city has some hidden gems and side quests that you didn't know you needed. Welcome to Pop Culture Passport, your ultimate guide to quirky and cool destinations across the US. I'm your host, Beth Scalacci, aka the Roman Yeti, here to help you dive into the world of theme parks, uncover film and TV locations, and explore quirky museums, roadside attractions, and legendary venues that capture the heart and soul of this unique country. So grab your pop culture passport and let's discover destinations that resonate with your interest, not just with what's trending on social media. Are you ready? Let's roam! Welcome back and Happy New Year! If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that I have covered several places in and around the Rochester, New York area before. Now, Rochester is starting to really hold a special place in my little travel heart. Not because it's flashy or overly famous, but because I've gotten to know it over time and I've discovered some of my favorite places there. Now, my husband grew up in the area and we're up there often to visit his father every few months. And in our free times during those visits, we've begun exploring these areas. And slowly, like the best kind of side quest, Rochester has started revealing its weird, wonderful personality. And this episode, I just wanted to create just for anyone who's making their way through Western New York. Maybe you're visiting the Finger Lakes and it's a rainy day or you need a day away from the lakes. Or you're heading to Niagara, driving through, and again, a delightful detour, a wonderful side quest. Or you're doing a New York State road trip, which is totally a fun idea as well. But whatever your route, I just want to share some of the offbeat and delightful stops that I think make Rochester worth the detour. So I'm going to start with a couple of places for the music lovers out there. My first stop is the House of Guitars, which is affectionately known as the Hog. It is tucked in the Rochester suburb of Arundecoy, and it's often called the largest guitar store in the world. But it's so much more than a music shop. It has both musical instruments and physical um, media for every music genre you can think of. But it is a rock and roll mecca. It has this crazy layout and just how things are stacked up. The walls and ceilings are covered in memorabilia and autographs. And really, the history of that place is as loud as the amps that it sells. Now, the Hog was founded in 1964 by brothers in their mom's basement, and the store rode the wave of Beatlemania. But it offered something really revolutionary at the time. It actually let the teenagers touch the guitars. Um, they made instruments accessible to young dreamers, even importing Vox amps before anyone else in the US. Now, the House of Guitars is located in a former Grange Hall, and it is a labyrinth of guitars, amps, drums, sign posters, albums, CDs, you name it, and it is stacked. It is a little sensory overload when you walk inside for the first time, but as one of their slogans says it best, it's the store that ate my brain. Um, and it's a must stop for touring musicians, legends like Metallica, Aerosmith, and the Ramones have all passed through there. And it's locally famous for its late night TV commercials, with a classic tagline of the house guitars is cooler than Hollywood. And the place is just so fun. It is a little overwhelming, like I said. There are just crates and crates of albums and boxes of shirts. That staff, though, is so knowledgeable. You would think no one would know where anything was. You tell them what you're looking for, and they will point you in the right direction and help you find it. Um, and I love that they are not music snobs at all. So, go in and ask for whatever you're looking for and they will help. Now, I am going to give you a bit of advice there. When you, when you walk in the back into the album, there there is a section of like um t-shirts of bands and so forth. And it is just tell someone you're going in there, because chances are you might get lost in that maze. Um, so I just feel like it's better to alert someone in your party where you're going. Do I know that from personal experience? Maybe, maybe not. Well, that's between me and the t-shirt labyrinth. But the instrument section of the store is also so cool. There's such a wide variety of guitars and pieces of rock and roll history all over. So take your time to check it all out. Um, so if you're a music fan, a musician, or just love like a good legend, this is the kind of place that you just have to check out. So, our other music lover stop is only 15 minutes away, and that is the Record Archive. So, I lovingly say this about the House of Guitars because I do love it. If the House of Guitars is chaos, Record Archive is curated with craft beer in hand. Um, I'll explain. Founded in 1975 by local radio personality Richard Storms, this beloved Rochester landmark began as a flea market booth, and now it is a massive 13,000 square foot warehouse. It includes music, vintage finds, and just all kinds of awesome pop culture oddities and fun things to look at and buy. And Record Archive lives up to its name. It is an archive of formats for across the decades. There's vinyl, there's CDs, there's cassettes, there's 8 tracks, there's even 78s. Um, it has to have over a million items. It's an actual treasure hunt for collectors and even casual browsers. But the Record Archive didn't stop at records. It evolved into a full lifestyle destination. It has really cool vintage clothes, funky furniture, gifts, um, the equipment to play all the awesome media on. And yes, there's a bar there. So thanks to co-owner Elena Alderman's creative leadership, it became the first record store in New York State to get a full beer and wine license. And their backroom lounge hosts live shows, weddings, memorials, and unforgettable happy hours. And their influence even goes beyond Rochester. Record Archive helped launch Record Store Day, that national celebration that helped fuel the vinyl revival. This is a favorite stop for my daughter when in town. Record Archive is, a little easier to find what you're looking for. And just like House of Guitar, the staff is so helpful and supportive of any music you like. No music snobs at either store, which is one of my favorite things because I have been to record stores and music stores where they're very snotty about who they carry and who you're asking for. House of Guitars, Record Archive, nope, not a snob in sight. They're awesome. And it's also a walk down memory lane for me. I could find the music I grew up with and the equipment that we used to listen to it on. I have yet to have a drink in the lounge, but it is totally on my to-do list. So, whether you're crate digging, sipping a local drink, or watching a live band surrounded by records, this is one stop that provides analog vibes all day long. Now, for you vibe chasers, just looking for a good time, little drink, cool atmosphere, even, some Instagram worthy pictures, I have two places for you to check out. The first stop is Marge's Lakeside Inn. I feel like, and this is something I've learned. Again, I'm learning about this area. I am not a local. I didn't grow up here, but I feel like I'm learning that you can't talk about Rochester without mentioning Marge's, and it is because it is a beloved lakeside dive bar slash speakeasy slash tiki bar. a lot of descriptive words there. But what it makes you feel is you've been transported to like the Florida Keys, but really you're just in Irondequoit, New York on Lake Ontario. But it's so much fun. So the story goes all the way back to the early 1900s when the building might have been a hospital or maybe just a humble bar. But what we do know is that during Prohibition, George Magan was running booze across Lake Ontario and pouring cocktails in the back room like nothing ever happened. Legend has it he brewed beer in the basement and received liquor directly from rum runners sailing in from Canada. No big deal. The name Marge's didn't come along until 1960 when Marge Beth, a no nonsense woman with a heart for hospitality and years of bar experience, bought the place. Along with her sons, Ron and Gary, who was known to play piano for the crowd, she transformed it into a true neighborhood favorite, cozy, quirky, and full of life. Now, that legacy has stayed in the family for decades. After Marge, her son Ron took over, and after Ron's passing, his wife Fran and daughter Francine continued the tradition, keeping the place warm, wild, and welcoming. Inside, it's a kitsch lover's dream: jukebox, fishing nets full of treasures, photo covered walls. You can just feel the stories echoing off the wood paneling, but the magic that really happens here is out back. I was so shocked. We walk out there and there is a huge sandy beach, fire pits, plastic chairs, twinkle lights, and the sunset over the water. Oh, it was perfect. Chef's kiss. It just so much reminded me of, a bar on the beach on the bay at the ocean. Like it just had the best vibes. And I loved it. And like I said, this was my first Marge's experience just this past September. I fell in love with it. And I know this place is probably so busy in the summer, but seeing the sunset over the lake, and honestly, the lake looks like an ocean or a sea. You don't see the other side. It's huge. It was just such a perfect way for us to sort of say goodbye to summer. And honestly, I think I'm gonna make that a tradition. If we're up there, early September or sometime in September before it gets too too cold, um, I feel like that that has to be the chef's kiss to summer there. And Marge is a haven for locals, musicians, and anyone chasing that perfect summer evening. And people are noticing. I love this fact. It was named one of USA Today's best bars of the year for 2025. Not bad for a place that may have started as a rum runner's dream, right? So, the next spot I'm taking you to is, well, it's actually not your average cocktail bar. In fact, you might not even know it exists unless you get an invite or snag a reservation. So, tucked away in a hidden room inside of one of Fairport, New York's most iconic historic buildings is the Blind Pig, a modern day speakeasy experience that leans all the way into its mysterious roots. So, the Blind Pig lives inside the Land House on Main, which is a stunning French chateau style mansion built by Frank Deland in the early 1900s. At the time, it cost a jaw dropping, get this, $50,000 to build, but that made it the most extravagant private residence in the village of Fairport. So let's just say Frank wasn't cutting corners. The mansion's second life came in the roaring 1920s when it was transformed into the Green Lantern Inn. At that time, it was a high end hotel, complete with third floor ballroom where dinner dances were all the rage. And once the prohibition ended in 1933, well, the tap room came right along. That blend of elegance and prohibition era grit makes this building the perfect home for what's located upstairs now. And when I say upstairs, I mean it. The Blind Pig is hidden away in the attic. accessible only during private events or special experiences. Um, and you might need a password. You might need to get a coded invitation, but that's the fun of it. It's all about stepping back into the thrill of the 1920s underground. Even the name comes straight from the Prohibition playbook. Back then, blind pigs were working class speakeasies that used a clever loophole. Charge customers to see a so called attraction, like a literal pig, and then offer them complimentary alcoholic drink. Totally not selling booze, right? Wink, wink. We finally scored a reservation at the Blind Pig in November and had such a great time. We were sent directions on where to enter and our password, and then we got to witness the secret entrance to the attic. We had small plates of food, similar to, think tapas, and the menu. This is what's really cool. The menu changes weekly, both, I think, the beverage and the food. So even that was a fun surprise. If you want to score a reservation, go to the DeLand House on Maine's website and you'll see a blind pig logo. I think it's only open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays right now, and they release reservations twice a month. I think at the beginning of the month and mid-month. So, like I said, it took us a while to score one just based on when we were up there, but it was a fun night. And if you do score a reservation there, make sure to come early and check out the town of Fairport and the Erie Canal. The Erie Canal is another place that I've sort of fallen in love with. It's, I don't know, the boats, and it's a lot of fun. And Fairport's a very cute little town. Now, for my art and nostalgia fans, I want to start with the Clock of Nations. This was something I learned because I did not grow up in Rochester. But if you did grow up in Rochester, or visited the Midtown Plaza during its heyday, there's a good chance you will remember the Clock of Nations. And maybe even stood beneath it, waiting for the top of the hour as music played and the mechanical figures from around the world twirled to life. It was whimsical, it's nostalgic, and it was never just a clock. It was originally gifted to the city by Bausch and Lomb. This clock was more than a timepiece. It was a statement, a symbol of Rochester's corporate pride and international reach. It was installed in 1962 at the center of Midtown Plaza, which, fun fact, was the first fully enclosed downtown shopping mall in the country. Who knew? The clock was meant to draw people together, and Frank Zorn, the designer behind it, made sure it would. Every hour, 12 colorful figures emerged in turn, each one representing a different country or culture, from Scotland to Mexico to Japan. It was a celebration of global unity at a time when Rochester itself was booming with industry, led by global brands like Kodak and Bausch & Lomb. But like many mid-century malls, Midtown Plaza eventually declined, and it closed in 2008. The buildings were demolished, and for a while, it felt like the magic of the Clock of Nations had vanished with it. But thankfully, Rochester wasn't about to let that history disappear. After being lovingly dismantled and restored, the clock made a brief return in 2014, this time greeting travelers in the Greater Rochester International Airport. And it was a nice placeholder, but let's face it, that clock belonged downtown. And recently, it finally came home. Today, the Clock of Nations is proudly displayed in the lobby of Tower 280, which is a modern residential and commercial space built on the very site of the old Midtown Plaza. So if you're on Broad Street, you can see it. You can see into the lobby from there too. And it's more than a nostalgic nod. It's a symbol of reinvention. It's an icon from Rochester's past, and it's now anchoring its future. And just like it did in 1962, the clock still invites people to gather, to look up, and take a moment out of their day to really marvel at the mix of mechanics, artistry, and multicultural celebration. In a way, it's a perfect metaphor for the city itself, rooted in history, shaped by innovation, and always moving forward. Now, we stopped in to see it one day, and it instantly reminded me of It's a Small World in all the best ways. I mean, you can take a girl out of Disney World, but you can't take Disney World out of the girl. But if you are in downtown Rochester, and there's so many cool things to do in downtown, it's worth stopping to see in person. Um, the level of detail they took to, bring it back to life, and the characters are so cool. I just wish I would have seen it in Midtown Mall in its heyday, but I'm glad it's back, and I did get to see it. So, definitely worth a stop. Now, my next stop is for the kind of traveler who'd take a warehouse full of wild art over white walled galleries. And I think there's a few of you out there. I know one of them's me. If you like that kind of art, then the Artisan Works it's our kind of place. It's so cool. The Artisan Works is tucked into a massive 40,000 square foot warehouse, and it's in Rochester's BB Station district. And the Artisan Works feels like what would happen if a flea market, an antique store, and an artist's dream journal just collided. And I think that's really the point of it. Originally an industrial space, once home to A.O. Smith and later part of Sibley's department store operation, the building's blue collar bones now holds one of the most immersive, unexpected art experiences you'll find anywhere. And it all started, of course, the way we like it, with one man's vision. Max Pies is a local artist, antique collector, and philanthropic soul, and he founded Artisan Works not as a museum, but as a movement. He wanted a place where art wasn't locked behind velvet ropes or tucked in frames. He called it Artisan Life, a philosophy that says art should live with us, move with us, grow with us, and it does. The Artisan Works is constantly shifting labyrinth of more than 500,000 items. I'm talking floor to ceiling displays of painting, sculpture, vintage mannequins, neon sign, mid-century furniture, photography, props. Every corner has a new surprise. One room is looks and feels like it's old school diner. The next a jazz lounge. Walk a little further, you'll be in a neon soaked hallway that looks like it's straight out of a dream or music video. There's even one section that is like a fire station. It's just so cool. But here's the thing, nothing stays the same. The in house artists are always rearranging, reimagining, and remixing the space. You could come back 6 months later, and odds are you won't recognize your favorite room. But here's what makes it more than just a cool place to wander. Artisan Works is a nonprofit, so your admission and every event hosted in that space goes right back into supporting artists and keeping creativity alive in Rochester. It's become one of the city's most beloved wedding and event venues, and honestly, if I had gotten married inside a room of disco balls, I wouldn't be mad about it. There's no map. There's no guided route. They do have tours of certain sections from time to time, but it's just really, the beauty is it's just you, your curiosity, and a giant living canvas waiting to be explored. My first impression of Artisan Works and just through it, it gave me O Street Mansion vibes, but without the hidden doors. So we had so much fun wandering around the space. There was just so much to take in, and always remember to look up. We would just be walking around, look up, and there was like a whole nother thing to look at. So it's a really cool place. They do host private events, which I would imagine are just iconic. Um, if you're gonna go there, and if you're into art and this kind of thing, I suggest you do. Um, Check the hours before you plan to visit, because they're not open all the time, especially with their events and everything going on at the facility. So double check and plan accordingly. So I wanted to make sure I didn't leave out a few other places. So let's do a quick lightning round. And I want to put here a few of our favorite places to grab a drink and just soak up the local flavor. We've tried other breweries in the Rochester area, but these are the ones on that are our favorites so far based on just the atmosphere and the beverages. Um, Lock 32 in Pittsford has very good beer and has very nice views of the Erie Canal. So fun to sit there, once the canal is full and just take in the boats and the people biking and everything. Definitely a place to stop in. Rising Storm Brewery has a lot of inside and outside space. Again, not along the canal, but along the water. Maybe it is the canal. I'm still learning. But they have a wide variety of beer styles, some good food as well. But just a nice atmosphere as well. If you're in the city, stop at Strange Bird. It's located in the city. It's near Strong Museum. Has great beers, great pizza. Also has a full bar if you're not a beer drinker. It's just a really cool place, really fun vibe. Just a great atmosphere. So check that out. And of course, I have to say the iconic Genesee Brewing. I mentioned it before in an episode, but it's worth repeating. They have a tasting room with beers that you can't find anywhere else. So if your opinion of Genesee is Jenny Light or Jenny Cream Ale, I implore you to go check it out. and you're definitely going to change your mind about Jenny after a visit there. And if you're there in the area in December, make sure to stop by to see their keg tree. It was just named Newsweek's #1 Christmas tree, but it's a very fun thing to see and check out. And the last brewery I'm going to recommend, at least for today, is Other Half. We have not made it to the facility yet. We drive by it all the time. It looks beautiful, but it's one of our favorite beers. They're actually out of Brooklyn, but they have tasting rooms up in the Rochester area, and they actually have them in DC too. So you can check them out in multiple locations. Now, also, while I didn't cover these following places in this episode, there are some other places that I think you should check out. These are in some past episodes, so you can check those out. I'll try to link to them in the show notes. The Jello Museum in Leroy, yes, it exists, and yes, it's amazing. You must stop. The George Eastman Museum is a must-stop for photography buffs, and just it's a gorgeous place. The mansion is gorgeous. The architecture, decorations, so check that out. Strong Museum, Museum of Play, and Toy Hall of Fame. Yeah, this place is fun for all ages. Don't let the kids gatekeep you on this one. And It's a Wonderful Life Museum, while it's a little further out, it's in Seneca Falls. This is a fun stop, especially if you're a fan of the movie, or really just pop culture in general. So check those out. Those are episodes as well. To me, Rochester is it's just unfolding itself, and I'm finding these quietly cool places, and I'm just really having fun discovering it and learning more about it. There's something always else to discover, and that's part of the charm. It's a city, but it's not a huge city. So there's a lot to experience without all the hassles of going into a big city and public transportation and parking and all that fun all that not fun stuff. So if you are the kind of traveler who loves finding a dive bar on the beach, or a guitar shop with history literally nailed to the walls and ceilings, or an art museum that it doesn't feel like an art museum, I'm telling you, Rochester absolutely delivers. And the weather in the summer, yeah, it's pretty good. And with that, we add another stamp to our pop culture passport. I hope that this episode inspires you to get out and explore all that is quirky and cool, even in your own backyard. Follow, download, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Please tell a friend and leave a review if you like what we're doing. It really helps the show to grow. And you can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for The Roaming Yeti. Keep roaming and finding your fun.